from Columbia in high definition. This is WIS News 10 Awareness.
This morning on Awareness, starting with an idea and turning it into a profit. One young entrepreneur is doing just that, and you can too. How to get started in the small business world and how to properly manage those finances. Good morning and thank you for joining us for Awareness. I'm your host, Megan Norman. She is 8 years old and already making waves in the business world. Gabrielle Goodwin is a second grader at Harbison West Elementary School. She's in a gifted and talented program where she learns about ancient civilizations, foreign languages, and how to manage her money. Important lessons as she starts expanding her business, GaBBY Bows.
My name is Gabrielle Goodwin and I live in Columbia, South Carolina. I am President and CEO of GaBBY Bows. When I am not at school or working for my business, I like reading, dancing, dolls, and crossword puzzles.
And I'm Rozalynn, Gabby's mom and co-inventor. Also serve as a vice president for the South Carolina Hospital Association.
My business is GaBBY. My mommy and I solved the age-old problem of disappearing girls' barrettes by inventing the double-faced double-snap barrette. My mommy used to spend a lot of time fixing my hair in the mornings, drop me off at school, and pick me up to find out half of my bows were gone and my hair was all out of place. She was going to the store to buy me more bows all the time, but no more. GaBBY Bows won't slip out of the hair, so they secure girls' hairstyles.
And mom's peace of mind. No more lost bows.
That was a pitch by Gabrielle and her mother, Rozalynn. No more lost bows.
No more lost bows.
You and your husband have been on Awareness before, and
Yes.
since then, GaBBY Bows has really taken off.
Yes, we're now in 40 Walgreens stores across South Carolina and Georgia, and we're now also in 51 BI-LO stores across the state of South Carolina, all over the state, in upstate, low country, the PD area. We're just really excited about how we were able to share our hair accessory solution with so many different people in the Southeast.
Now, they didn't just pop up in these stores. This has been a 4-year journey for your family. Tell us a little bit about that.
It is. About 4 years ago, a Twitter rant led to us exploring the idea of trying to figure out how to create a bow that would work in her hair, that would stay in her hair after I would send her to school. And it was a lot of research. Gabrielle and I would sit down, she was 5 when we started this process, and compare different bows to see what worked, what did not work, if we could create our own bow, what would it look like. She came up with the colors and designs. So research and networking and finding the appropriate engineers and manufacturers. And here we are today with a product that's in over 100 stores, or almost 100 stores across South Carolina and Georgia, but also website sales through GabByBows.com.
That's incredible. Well, let's listen to how Gabrielle describes these bows.
They don't slip out because of the teeth and craters and they trap the hair. And you wrap it around the hair, you wrap it around this inner strip, and you snap it one end closed and snap the other end closed, and it won't come out.
What a great concept and a great idea. So tell us a little bit more about the engineering behind the bows.
Certainly. The engineering behind the bows is that they have 2 faces. So even when the hair moves, you'll always see the design. Unlike standard barrettes, as soon as the hair turns, you just see the back of the bow. So you'll always see the design because it has 2 faces. And then each one of those 2 faces has strategically placed teeth and craters on the inside of it to help trap and gather the hair. So there's also a center strip as well that adds that triple hole in security. So between the 2 faces, the center strip, the teeth and the craters, GaBBY Bows aren't going anywhere.
Now, since you've put those in her hair, have you lost one bow?
We have never lost a bow. And people cannot believe that because it's so standard. It's a generational problem. My mom lost mine, but I lost bows. My mom lost bows, but we have not lost a bow in over 2 years since we developed this product.
But before this, you were buying bows constantly.
Yes, I was buying bows at least once a month, sometimes twice a month.
Right. Well, going into business, certainly not an easy feat. Both of you very brave, very courageous for doing this. Talk a little bit more about deterrence, because there are a lot of things and people who may have tried to put you down or discourage you from creating these?
I can't count how many no's we received. How many no's and how many are you sure's? Even someone who said, I think you're a little crazy. But you have to keep going. You have to persevere. And I was blessed to have a 5-year-old daughter who was so persistent about asking me every day when her bows were coming. She wasn't even asking about the process. You know, how are we going to find an engineer, manufacturer? All she knew, or all she had, was childlike faith to just believe,
Right.
if we're going to do this, we're going to do it.
Right.
And there's going to be a way to do it. So that certainly motivated me past all the no's, past the you're crazies, you know, I don't know whether this will work, or those type things that were certainly there that could have put us back. But we persevered over 4 years, and now it looks like, wow, everyone's telling you yes, but that is not the case. We received so many no's, and then if you keep persevering past the no's, there will be a few right yeses that will continue to encourage you along the journey.
Well, and along with that, it seems like you and even your daughter, you're learning really great lessons about this. And let's talk a little bit more about what she's gathering from this experience, because you told me earlier that this has almost become normal to her, like every 8-year-old should have her own business, right?
Yes, she's learning most importantly that nothing's impossible. She's also learning how to use her faith, and she's also learning how to persevere in spite of no. So every disappointment that I experienced, she experienced as well, and has been resilient through it. I mean, there have been a couple of times that we've received no, and I was in tears, and she comforted me. She was just so strong and was ready to, let's move on to another store. Let's move on to the next opportunity.
And it's really paying off too, and not just because your bows are all over the place now, but she just recently won the South Carolina Young Entrepreneur of the Year, one of 5 or so winners?
One of 5 winners this year, and the youngest to ever receive the award at the tender age of 8 years old.
Wow. Well, let's hear from her teacher, her 2nd grade teacher, about this award and about Gabby Spirit.
When she does share, I can see them thinking, well, I could do that too. That could be me. And so it really fosters a spirit of innovating and creating things, because we would love for these children to be the ones that make our lives better in the future anyway.
And this is just what you were talking about, creating that inspiration, that entrepreneurial spirit that others can kind of feed off of.
Yes, we met a little girl this weekend in Atlanta, the World Natural Hair Show. She's 6. Her mother bought her bows on Saturday. They came back Sunday, but before they came back, she insisted that her mother style her hair just like Gabrielle's and put the bows in her hair. It was the most adorable thing in the world. But they took pictures, and she was just clinging onto her and just hugging her as a role model. You know, to think that an 8-year-old is a role model for little girls is just amazing, and we're just incredibly blessed to have her as our daughter.
Well, and one other thing that I think is pretty miraculous in terms of being an inspiration, you see Gabby's pretty little face, next to these bows, and that's something that growing up, I mean, I never really saw in the stores when I was looking for bows, seeing someone who looked like me.
Yes, it means so much, and she's certainly inspiring young girls as well as women of all ages to dream again and to try again, because many of us have ideas. We just put them to the side and say, well, that's impossible, I can't do that. But we're hearing from so many girls and women who are saying, I've got an idea, I'm going to try again, I'm going to dream again, I'm going to go after it again.
Great. Rozalynn, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
And we'll have all this information on the Gabby Bows on our Awareness Facebook page. Still to come on Awareness. Getting a hand up, the tools you'll need to be successful when starting a new business. Back to Awareness. If you want to start a business or expand your business, we are here to help. There are a lot of resources statewide, and this may be a good week to get started. Tina Herbert, Director of the Office of Business Opportunities for the City of Columbia, is with us this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And we just saw Rozalynn from GaBBY Bows, and they were a part of this InnovateHER Business Challenge, and that's taking them to DC next week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the SBA this year decided to focus a lot on women because we have a growing number of women that are in the workforce. And they had a challenge, who could create an innovative product that impacted women and families. So on a local level, we did our own business plan competition, then narrowed down to a pitch competition, and Gabby Bows actually won our competition, which was great on the first level. But then we submitted our finalist, Gabby Bows, and she was chosen as one of the top 15 national finalists.
That is incredible.
We think that's awesome. And so she will be competing nationwide during National Small Business Week on May 8th in DC.
And really the purpose is to help diversify the business world, right?
Right, to bring more women in, and then also to constantly foster innovation and new ideas, because new ideas are what's going to take us into the next generation. So we have to find creative ways to keep encouraging people, and a lot of times it's men. So the SBA said we want to make sure that the women are actually in this field too.
And what are some of the ways the City of Columbia is encouraging this entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, we have several resources. We have our Small Business Week conference that's coming up next week. Some of the topics that we're going to cover are, first of all, joint venturing, which is a new concept. But sometimes you may have two different businesses who have two different skill sets, but not enough to get a particular project or work on a particular plan. So maybe you're an accountant and one person is in marketing. How can you joint venture to develop a new company that can work on something? We're also going to talk about trade shows. Now, trade shows are a good way for you to gain exposure to sell your product if you're in retail. However, you do have to know which trade shows are best for you. So we'll have a seminar talking specifically about how to choose your trade shows. And another good one that we'll have are employees, and it's one thing that we don't talk about a lot, but once you become a business owner, you start to hire employees. You have to have some factors that you're looking for. What are you looking for in a new employee, and then what do you do when something goes wrong with the employee-employer relationship?
This starts May 4th through the 8th, correct?
Yes.
And anything else people need to know about in terms of being a part of this conference?
Just, you can go to our website or call our office. The office number is 803-545 3950. The tickets are $50, and we're doing registration up to the day of the event, which is May 5th. But we're going to have a good time, and Too Fat to Fly will also be there too.
I was going to say, you've got a couple of stars that are going to be there, including Gabby Bows.
Right. And it's interesting because we have all of this talent in Columbia, and we really, this is our time to celebrate all of the folks that we have here. And they have innovative ideas, because although it's chicken, it's still innovative. I think a lot of folks think of innovation in technology, but it doesn't always have to be technology.
So go out to the conference that's starting this week, and you also always have plenty of resources available on your website if someone is interested in beginning that trek into small business ownership.
Yep, absolutely.
Tina, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
When awareness returns, wouldn't you like to maximize your money and make it work for you? Whether you own your own business or you'd like to someday, or you just want to keep everything straight at home, listen up to this next segment. How to put your finances in check and ultimately increase your wealth. Welcome back to Awareness. When it comes to owning your own business or even just taking care of your own personal bills, there are some things you need to know about money management that will help increase your wealth and keep you grounded. Joining me now is financial planner and consultant Karen Jenkins. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Let's get started right away. What are some tips for small business owners?
Well, small business owners, we have so much noise out there. There's so many things to distract us. What we want to do is make sure that we identify our mission and stick to it. People are going to come to you and ask you to do things and be things that you may not be in that line of action. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that if it's not in a position where it's getting you closer to reaching your mission, don't do it. So
forget about it.
Forget about it. Find your mission, stick to it.
And the next one?
The next one would be know your numbers. A lot of us go into business, but we don't really know if we're turning a profit. We don't know what our profit margin is. And we really may not even know exactly how to price our product and service. So you want to basically be able to monitor your numbers, know your numbers, and make sure that you're doing the things that will get you closer to achieving those numbers.
Now, is that something you probably need to get some professional help with?
If you don't know how to do it, yes. So you may have a CPA, you may have an accountant, you may have a coach, somebody that can actually sit down with you and show you how to read a profit and loss statement, how to look at your cash flow and make sure that you have enough money to sustain your business, because people go out of business just because they don't know exactly how to monitor and know their numbers so that they can plug a hole if there is one or make an adjustment if they need to, and by the time they recognize it, it's too late.
And I think it's important to remind people it's not just doing this in the very beginning, but you have to constantly monitor and track this.
You have to constantly monitor it. That's in a personal life, and especially in a business life, because you don't want to wake up one day and go, oh, what happened?
Right.
And then know that you could have prevented this had you been in a position where you were monitoring your numbers.
Right. Let's move on to some personal finance tips for people.
Personal finance. What a lot of people don't know in business is that your personal finances definitely fall into your business. Because if somebody gives you a business loan, they're going to look to you as a personal person to basically guarantee that. So know your credit score. If your credit score is not where you want it to be or you need it to be, which is probably around 680 or above, there's certain things that you can do. Pay off and reduce debt. If you have any blemishes on your credit report or things that are in collection, pay them off. As long as it continues to have a balance, it's continuing to contribute a negative result to your score. So clear that up. You can do the snowball effect when you're talking about reducing your debt. Pay off one item, the lowest item on your list, and then use that money to help pay off the next high or next lowest, and then the next lowest, and before you know it, you should be reducing your debt.
What about creating a savings plan?
Oh, you have to have a savings plan. We have to have contingency plans in personal life and in business. If something goes wrong, if the tire goes flat, if the machine breaks in the business, you need to have a source of funds, not necessarily credit, but a source of funds that you can go to make sure that you're taking care of that. And if we go ahead and make sure that we're planning at least 3 months as a start to say, I'm going to put this off in a savings account somewhere that I can actually access, you're doing a good job. And unfortunately, that's not enough, but that is a beginning.
Right, that's a great start. Well, great advice from you, Karen. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you, Megan.
We'll be right back with a final thought. We're going to do our final thought a little bit differently this week. I brought all of our ladies back to share some final words of wisdom for our audience. Rozalynn, let's start with you. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from doing this process?
2 things. The first from my imaginary book of Roz. She who solves problems shall get paid. And the second is faith plus perseverance equals success.
Great advice, absolutely. And talk a little bit more about DC, because you have a big trip coming up with you and your daughter.
We're very excited. This will be Gabrielle's first trip to DC, and it'll be at the Washington Post for our InnovateHER business pitch competition. We'll have 2 minutes to deliver our pitch and then take questions and answers. I'm just looking forward to being with the 14 other women and their awesome ideas and just being inspired by it. And hopefully we'll be able to bring more national attention to the city of Columbia.
Yes. And I know Gabrielle is very excited about this.
Yes, extremely excited about this.
And she'll be right there for your pitch?
Yes, she'll be right there, and we'll certainly be acknowledging her during the pitch.
Great. Well, the best of luck to you and to Gabrielle on your venture.
Thank you.
Now, Tina, let's talk a little bit more about your final thoughts as far as starting a small business.
Well, I think I want people to really take from this lesson, because there are so many innovative ideas out there that are yet to be found. And so we want people to be encouraged, passionate about their ideas, and then once you have the idea, seek out the resources, because there are a lot of free resources. Karen has resources to help you develop that idea and bring it to market. In the city of Columbia, of course, we're here to help you with that too.
And what about the people who get discouraged, you know, when they see that it really isn't as simple as they might have thought?
Well, I don't think anything ever is. And so I think that is where the passion comes in, because if you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter if you get 100 no's, the 101 answer might be yes, and that may be what you need to keep going. So you can't let other people discourage you, but you do have to be reasonable, because sometimes people may have negative information that could be constructive for you. So you don't just completely ignore them. You take it in and you keep what you need and get rid of what you don't.
Right. And Karen, what are some big mistakes people might make when they first start getting into becoming a small business owner?
Well, the issue is that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And not taking the time to follow up with resources, the Office of Business Opportunity, Small Business Development Center, the South Carolina Department of Transportation has their DBE program. So there are a plethora of free resources out there that people have to tap into. You have to invest in yourselves to make sure that you're learning and finding out the things that you know. Just because I pour concrete well, or just because I'm a good accountant, or just because I'm good at something that I can turn into a small business, doesn't mean that I know all of the other components of managing that business, operations manager, hiring, firing, what are the rules and guidelines. So you have to tap into these resources to ensure that you're understanding. Not knowing that you are required to do something is no excuse for not doing it. And you will be penalized, especially when you're dealing with the IRS. So tap into, find the resources, and I like to say have some type of a mastermind, somebody that you can use as a sounding board, because this is not for the faint at heart, but it's very rewarding. And I want to congratulate Rozalynn, Gabby, very excited about what you guys are doing, and being that example, and understanding that no may not necessarily be no, it may be not now.
Right.
And having that child's mentality of not accepting no is always a good trait to have.
Now, Rozalynn, were you tapping into those resources to make sure you knew as much as you could, and even if you didn't know, someone else did?
Yes, and there's so many here in the Midlands. I say often that Columbia is one of, I think, the best place to start a business. Between the City of Columbia, 1 Million Cups, SCORE, the South Carolina Women's Business Center. We've tapped into all of those resources, and we're just very grateful that those resources are there, either for free or very low cost, which is very important for a startup.
Right. And Tina, a lot of those resources are free, and they're not just based in the City of Columbia.
That's right, they're across the state, and we have different organizations, and we try and partner. There's several organizations. The key is to find the one that has the specific thing that you need to address, but we often partner with each other so that we're not duplicating efforts across the state.
Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Finding the entrepreneurial spirit can start at any age. All it takes is an idea, resources, and perseverance. It's certainly not simple, and there's no quick fix or easy route to success, as we all know. As in life, owning a business comes with trials and errors and sometimes disappointments. But the rewards can be worthwhile if you follow your passion. I'd like to thank all of our guests this morning. Until next time, I'm Megan Norman. This is Awareness.